It is the summer of 636 in the capital city of Chang'an in Tang Dynasty, China. An evil plot is being brewed between three brothers vying for the throne. This incident would be known as the Xuanwu Men Incident. This is one of the most famous assassinations throughout Chinese history. The Tang Dynasty would become one of the five great late dynasties in China. China saw massive economic growth through the expansion of the Silk Road, and for the first time ever, China's population grew to over 50 million. Now, Emperor Gaozu, he's now becoming a senile old man, and he must choose a successor from one of his sons. So the top three candidates are his sons Li Jiancheng, Li Yuanji, and Li Shimin. So Li Shimin, he was seen as the most capable candidate out of the three. He excelled academically, and he was physically superior to his other two brothers, winning hand-to-hand combats and sporting events almost every single time. Now, the news of the crowning of the new prince was leaked. Li Jiancheng and Li Yuanji, they will learn about this news through the imperial eunuchs that they bribed, and they worked closely with their father, Emperor Gaozu. So an evil plan was being hatched. The two would form an alliance in order to kill Li Shimin, and they would together rule over the new Tang Dynasty. Here's a plot twist. Li Shimin, he also planted his men around his relatives, and when he found out the plan that his brothers were planning on killing him, he thought, well, you guys want to kill me. How about instead I kill both of you before you can kill me? Now let's fast forward to Xuanwu Men. The translation is called the Daming Palace, which doesn't really make any sense. So every morning inside the royal palace, the emperor will lead a morning court session, and where the emperor learns about the news and developments from the country, from his highest ranking officials. And in order for these officials to reach this morning court session, everyone must pass through Xuanwu Men in the early morning hours. So Li Shimin, he knew this is where his brothers must pass through, and he decided that he has to act now or he's going to get killed. Here's the plot. So Li Shimin, he bribed Changhe. So Changhe is a military commander. He was in charge of guarding the Xuanwu Men. So in order to lure his other two brothers to make sure they will attend the morning court session, Li Shimin wrote a secret letter to his father, claiming that his brothers had been sleeping around with his concubines behind his back. So as a result of this, all three brothers, they were summoned that morning to the court session, and all three of them must pass through Xuanwu Men. It is believed that the two Li brothers were in fact sleeping with their father's concubines. Now this was actually quite common back then, because I mentioned this many times before, the imperial harem was so huge. So the emperors at any given time had thousands of women inside the harem, and there's no way for him to have sex with them all. So a lot of these concubines, they do end up cheating with guards or other members of the royal family inside the palace. It is now July 2nd, 626. After much deliberation, the two Li brothers, they would choose to attend this morning court session. So the two other brothers, Li Jiancheng and Li Yuanji, they were traveling through the Forbidden Park on their horses, and they were approaching Xuanwu Men. Then they both quickly realized that something was wrong, and they started to retreat quickly. Li Shimin would charge in on his horse and fires his arrow, instantly killing one of his brothers, Li Jiancheng. At the same time, the other brother, Li Yuanji, he was being fired up on by over 70 soldiers with their arrows. He's severely injured and falls off his horse, but he's still alive. He would retreat in panic deep into the woods behind the Forbidden Park, and where he got tangled in branches. And Li Shimin, in pursuit, also falls off his horse, and he gets caught up in the woods. The two Li brothers would be engaged in a desperate fight to the death in the woods. And amongst the chaos, Li Yuanji actually temporarily gains the upper hand. He grabs Li Shimin's bow, wrapping it around his neck, forming a circle, putting him into chokehold, and nearly killing him. However, at this time, Yu Zhigong, he's a military general. He was bribed by Li Shimin beforehand. He arrives on the scene just in time, and he fires his arrow right into Li Yuanji's heart, killing him instantly. Now, Emperor Gaozu was likely aware of this plot, and after this assassination, in order to prevent further bloodshed, he ordered all of his remaining forces inside the royal palace to submit their loyalty to Li Shimin. As Gaozu, he's now way too old to rule over Tang Dynasty China, and it is time to pass on the crown. Li Shimin was crowned as Emperor Tang Taizong on September 4th of 626. Many years later, a 14-year-old junior concubine would enter the royal palace. She's the legendary Wu Zetian. If you think this story is brutal, this is nothing compared to Wu Zetian's story. She would become the only woman to rule over China in its 5,000 years history. Final thoughts. History is complicated. It's never black and white, never good or evil. If Li Shimin hadn't murdered his two other brothers, they would have simply killed him. Sometimes some people get stuck between a rock and a hard place. I believe that Wu Zetian became so ruthless because she was forced to. The same thing happened. So many people in the imperial harem were so jealous of her, and many attempts were made to murder her. And it is because of this, every civilization throughout history was ruled by a patriarchy. Because remember, the top 1% of the most violent people throughout history are all men. So I'm sorry, ladies, this is just a biological fact. Men are physically stronger. And in ancient times, emperors and kings and rulers, they were often chosen from military generals. And in order to become a top-tier military general, you must be absolutely ruthless and you must be in a top-tier physical shape. There's an old Chinese saying. It's called the 杀人不眨眼, which means that you must be able to kill people without blinking an eye. Nice and friendly men, they will never have a chance to become kings. Sometimes it's difficult to be a decent human being. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.